not often I get to say that I haven't been to a circuit before, but today is one of those days. I'm at Sydney Motorsport Park. I'd never been here before. It's the track where they run World Time Attack, but today I'm with the MX-5 Club running their short or South circuit is what I think they call it. And it uses part of the GP track, as in the World Time Attack layout, and some more squiggly bits that the World Time Attack cars don't drive on. So pretty good for an MX-5, not so much for a car as spicy as mine, but still super fun. Let's see how we go. It's a very warm day, particularly for me coming from Melbourne. This is a 9-hour 900 odd kilometre drive for me to come to this track, so it's been quite a trip, but here we are and we're about to go on track. A lot of Lotuses in this group with me, and a radical type thing that you might be able to see to my right. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. And it's a Hayabusa powered 450 kilo little go-kart. A whole bunch of Lotus Elises or Exiges and me. The track is pretty fun, quite technical, lots of squiggly bits, lots of hilly bits, and the odd high speed corner and high braking moment, but it's a really warm day, and this is, I don't know, 2 o'clock or something in the afternoon, so it's kind of peak hot. I'm pretty cooked, the car's feeling pretty warm, and the tyres have been quite squirrely. The track's felt slippery. This car doesn't normally have a lot of rear end traction problems, but today I've felt that I'm getting a lot of drifting moments. Don't know why. Hopefully that doesn't happen again in this session. I've dropped tyre pressures a little in the rear, see how we go, and then I may look at softening the rear. I don't know, we'll see. But being my first time here, I don't need to play with the car too much. I just kind of need to drive it, learn the track. Being a complete amateur, it takes me a while to really start to understand the circuit, and I probably won't get anywhere near a perfect lap today, but so far I have managed a 59 seconds, so quite a short lap, less than a minute. I don't know if I'll be able to better that later today, given the heat and the weather. It's quite warm. So we shall see. The only chance I might be able to do that, I guess, is if I can really hook together a clean lap. The weather is not going to do me any favours. Okay, the man's doing the swirly arm thing, so I think that means we might be going out on track.
Switching to voiceover Brendan now, so that the wannabe race car driver Brendan can focus on the driving. This ended up being, I think, my second last session on track for the day. So by this point I had a reasonable understanding for the track layout and had somewhat of a groove, at least as much as I can, considering this is my first time at the circuit. And so for the outlap, I just try to get the car warmed up quickly, get the tyres and everything feeling nice, so I don't push too hard just yet. I don't want to get too far ahead of the cars behind, otherwise I'll be catching the back markers fairly quickly within the first couple of laps, and you kind of want to keep the field a little bit bunched up and not go too fast on the first lap, otherwise, you catch your tail effectively. You would have seen that Williams radical thing zooming off in front of me. That was, I think, the fastest car of the day. It's a very impressive little race car. I start to push now, and we're on the GP section of the track. Then we turn off to the left here for the last 2 corners of this circuit before we commence our first flying lap. And it's across the line there. Turn 1 here is on the GP circuit. You might notice this corner from the World Time Attack footage. And I head down through to the second corner. A fast left, and then here's where we shoot off to the right onto the short circuit, where I have a bunch of left, right, left sections. And as I said earlier, this is a very squiggly track. Everywhere is very short between corners. Then there's this downhill moment before a very tight left-hander. It's terribly painful. This corner, it's slow, it's hard to get the car to go around it. It just feels super painful. Nonetheless, I come shooting out the other side up onto the main GP circuit. Well, for only a moment before I drop at a cog and turn left, then right, then left again to conclude the lap. So yes, that's a very short lap indeed. That was a 1 minute 0.8. So as I mentioned, a very quick lap around here. And that radical thing is not getting us too far away just yet. We're still reasonably close behind. There really isn't a moment to breathe around this track. There aren't really any straights. I've just got this quick, tight left, right kind of section here. A short little downhill straight, but it's barely a straight. Before this tight left-hand corner, which in one of the earlier sessions I went way too wide into a runoff and then clouted the curb trying to come back onto the track. And then it's up the hill back onto that main GP circuit again. And even though this is somewhat of a straight section of track, the wheel is still hooked hard to the left as we come around the top curb, pushing right to the top of 4th, potentially even hitting 5th before braking into the final couple of corners. These last few corners I often found myself missing the apex on them, and that's just an indication of my amateur driving and my lack of familiarity with the circuit. I'm still just trying to understand the car and the track, and so often I miss an apex or I'd run a bit deep into a corner. It's just the nature of not always getting a perfect lap. But nonetheless, it's once again a 1 minute dead lap time, and it becomes something of a story for the day. Pretty consistent in times, which is kind of good. I guess it just means that, you know, I'm getting a bit of an understanding for the circuit, but undoubtedly there's time on the board there. If I could just get some good grip, if I could just get a good clean line, then maybe I'd see a 58-second lap. I'm here at this track day with the MX-5 club, so there's a heap of MX-5s entered for the event. But I was in a group with mostly Lotus Exiges or Exiges, and obviously that little radical race car that we saw earlier. And conveniently, most of the cars were doing pretty similar times. So we had some really good clean air. It makes sense, not a lot of traffic throughout the day, so it was absolutely great to learn and practice on the circuit without distractions of other cars. And with having cars of similar pace, it meant that we were never really tripping on each other's toes, and we just made the day more enjoyable, and everything just ran like clockwork. The event organisers did tend to run shorter sessions, and that said, I did tend to run shorter sessions myself. I also tended to only get about 4 or 5 laps in per run. One of the reasons for that was just the nature of the weather and this track. For some reason it seemed to really cook the tyres a bit, and I'd find that by the 4th or 5th lap I wasn't really getting good grip. The car would struggle. I'd have to oversteer or understeer more. And so after that 4th flying lap, I decided it's time to take things slow and bring the car back in. But once again, a 1 minute dead lap. So we're within a few tenths every single lap there. That sort of consistency is deserving of a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.